Hey, welcome back to the Osborne Wood Products Builder Studio. I'm Jonah. Today we are going to do a continuation of our build that we did last time in the studio. If you remember last time we were here, we did the assembly of the Squire pedestal kit. That is now available on osbornewood.com. You can go and check that out and get your ordered. Today we're going to be making a top for that kit. So we're going to go through what lumber we're using, how we're going to join that. We're actually going to use a reverse glue joint on our router table. So we're going to go through just a few basic setups that may be helpful for you along the way, and then we'll get that glued up and attached to our table. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. Okay, so today we are going to be making our top out of these poplar boards that we have. These are 1-inch thick boards. We have already planed them to 1-inch thick in our shop, but you can also find lumber similar to this at your local hardware stores if you don't have access to a planer or a joiner. So you can find S3S or S4S boards at your hardware store that are already square for you and ready to go. These boards came out of our shop. We planed them down, but they're very similar. It's just a poplar board, so it's very similar to what we've done. So these boards are 1-inch thick. We have them at 97 inches long. Our overall top size is going to be 30 by 89. I left them a little long so that we have some cutoffs that I can test with on our router table just to make sure that our reverse joint is going to be properly sized. That's another thing with this is you want to make sure that you leave some room in your boards so that you can take a cutoff piece and test it on your table. Because if you're using a different species of wood or a different size, obviously you might get variations whenever you go to do your actual cuts. So try to take the actual lumber from your top and test with that, just so you make sure that you're getting a proper fitment when it comes time to glue up. So we'll jump over the router table and I'll show you how I've set that up, and then we'll get these boards jointed and ready for a glue up. Okay, so my router table is off. You want to make sure before you do any work to your router table that it is unplugged, it is turned off, so that way you're not gonna accidentally kick it on if you're adjusting bits or moving your fence or whatnot. So that's unplugged. I am safe from that bit. So now I'm gonna undo my guard here and just slide that out of the way for now. Now, what we've done to set this up, so this is gonna be our planed edge that we're gonna be joining. So this is our flat edge. It's already been squared up. So what I like to do is just measure halfway in between the thickness of my board. So obviously this is a 1-inch thick board. So I have measured in the center of that. And I just want the top of this small cutter here to meet, I want that point right there to meet with that line that I've made in the center of my board. So that's going to give me about where I need to be for my cut. So that way I'm going to have proper gap in between my boards when I go to throw them together. So I've already set this up for that height, obviously. But you see here, I've just measured the center of my board and I have placed that point of that carbide right in the center of that. Now, for our fence, we want the depth of the fence to be even with the indentation in this carbide cutter here. So you can see there's a point where it kind of goes in and out. That's where the joint starts and everything right there. We want the fence to be even with that. So I like to take a ruler and just get my fence loose and just place it in there and just make sure that it is flat. There's no wobble in it. And once again, we're talking about this little indentation here. You want the flat piece of that back to be the same plane of your fence there. So this is already set up and ready to go. Before we cut, let's just go over some basic safety things. Obviously, I've got a push stick here. I'm gonna put my guard back. So I want that guard to be above that bit just in case something happens and that bit wants to malfunction on me. That is adding some protection. These bits also vary. Different companies have different tolerances and different specs for how to set it up. This is how we've done this one, and this is a pretty universal way, but that's why we recommend using a test piece, so that way you can try it out. If that cut doesn't work, you can adjust it and get it to where you are getting a proper joint each time. All right, so we're about ready to run this board through. One quick tip, you wanna make sure before you run your boards through that you lay your boards out. So with this type of bit, to get a proper joint, if you lay it out and you like the way they look, you need to mark them up and down, because one pass for one board is going to have have its face up. The other pass will have to have its face down so that it properly goes together. So I went ahead and marked those out. Just something to keep in mind with this type of bit. All right, so I'm done with the router table here. I just wanted to show you my test pieces. These are proper fit. Obviously, you can see it's a good seamless fit. But this is what is going to come off of. This is what's going to come off of that. So you can see, however you orient these, they're technically the same cut, but when we flip them upside down, they go together very nicely. So that's what we've done on our board. So let's move over to the table and we'll start gluing these up. All right, so now that we are done joining the edges on our boards, we're ready to glue up now, and this is the easy part. So I have went ahead and laid them out on my bottom clamps. Yeah, so those all fit together really nicely. Honestly, not much of a lip on any of the joints. It's just whenever we go to finish sand the whole top, that'll take a lot of that down, but looks really good for the router table. So now we're gonna throw some glue on these, put them on our clamps. I've got them on 2 of my clamps here just to have a good flat surface. And then we'll do another set of clamps on top just to keep them just to make sure that it's not warping or pushing them together. So that way we've got some good support there. We'll come back in a few hours when it's dry and get ready to sand it and cut it to its final length. All right, so we've got this glued up. It's gonna take a few hours for it to dry. So when this is dry, we'll come back and sand it down, get it ready for finish, and cut it to our final size and get ready to put this thing on the table. For now, we're gonna let it dry and then we'll come right back. Okay, so now that we have got our tabletop glued up and it has dried overnight, we are gonna get it ready to cut to our final length and width. And then we'll be ready to sand it. We're gonna sand this up to 220 so that we've got a nice surface on the top, and then we're gonna get this thing ready to finish and throw it on our table kit. So I'll go ahead and get it set up to cut my edges off. There's a little bit of overhang on each board, so we're gonna cut that flat and get those all flush, and then we'll come back and get ready to sand. Okay, so I've set up just a little fence to keep my circular saw straight. I've just put a metal straight edge. This is a ruler that I've put here, but just a metal straight edge to keep it straight. I know this is going to be perfectly straight. I can clamp it down and I can run that edge of my circular saw all the way down there, and it's going to give me a good straight edge on this end. So I've measured this out. We're going to actually just be cutting this little section off here, but with my saw I've measured out to accommodate for that. So we're going to cut this off, and then we'll have a square top and be ready to start doing some sanding. So. All right, so now that we've got a perfectly straight edge here, I'll do a final measurement check just to make sure we're 89 inches. But now we're ready to do some sanding. So we'll go ahead and start finish sanding this, get set back up on the table and get after that. So now that the top is cut to our end size and ready to sand, we're going to start working up in grits. I've got a 150 that I'm gonna use first, just to kind of knock down the thicker glue spots and a few of the higher spots in the boards. And then we're gonna finish it up with a 220. In between my 150 and my 220, I'm gonna put our edge profile on it. So we're gonna start sanding, and then we'll get a few shots of that and be ready to finish this up. All right, so we're done sanding our top to 220 grit. So we've got a nice surface whenever we go to finish this. We're not gonna finish it in this video. We are actually testing a few different techniques and different products for multiple wood species that we offer. I'm just trying to get the best finish on our products. For now, we're just gonna attach this top to the base and then we'll be done with this video. This was mainly just to show you how to go about building this top with this reverse glue joint. So let's go ahead and flip this over. We'll get our base centered up on it and then we'll attach it. So we are done with our table build. We have attached our top to our base. The table looks great. It's a really good joint and a really good way to make assembly a lot easier. So we're gonna wrap up this video. If you are interested in dimensional lumber from Osborne, you can check that out in the description below. We do offer stock pieces like this on our website that you can purchase and use for your project similar to this. The Squire table base kit is also on the website. I will leave the link in the description for that. As always, be sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment if you have any ideas for future videos that you would like to see. Thank you for joining us for this build. If you would like to see more Builder Studio videos, check out the playlist below, and we'll see you next time in the Builder Studio.